Happy Monday, everybody. Woo. We are back. James, it's too excited for a Monday.
You say happy Monday.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. We're back in action. It's Monday. We're talking about heat and humidity as the big story, but I have good news. Everything is going to get better. Depending on, well, I guess technically it's all getting better. Now, depending on how you exactly look at the forecast, might feel worse about it, better about it, but we're going to talk about it nonetheless. Today was the fourth day in a row that we had heat advisories issued for the Charlotte area. It was the fourth day we were keeping folks weather alert, and the temperatures certainly did not disappoint. The high temperature today at the airport was 99 with a peak heat index of 106. Now, both Saturday and Sunday also saw 106. So again, right, it can only go down from here. But I don't mean the weather's getting bad. I mean go down temperature-wise. Currently, as you're looking outside, it is still 97 degrees here in the Charlotte area, 97 as well for Sherrod. Monroe the same, but as we look at the current feels like numbers, these are finally starting to go down. Now, Sherrod's still coming in at 105. That's our highest right now, but again, eventually these are going to start to shift downward as we're actually already seeing some of those outflow boundaries cause some slightly cooler air. Like Morganton, for example, didn't actually see rain at the sensor there. That was an outflow that kind of pushed some of that slightly cooler air in. Statesville did see rain over their sensor. It got down to 75 briefly. Now they're soaring to 93 before our official sunset happens around 8:30. So we are not at heat advisory criteria anymore, and the official heat advisory will be canceled as of 8 o'clock. However, we're eventually going to be back in that threshold. So I do want folks to know that things are going to get better before they again get worse again, but we do still have to deal with multiple days of heat. It is still July here in the Carolinas. If you were with us on WCNC Plus earlier, we were talking a little bit with Jane about when can you act, or I guess that was Vanessa. I don't know, when you talk about the heat so much, everything kind of runs together, especially after all the updates we did over the weekend. But we were talking about when you can finally start to breathe a sigh of relief, thinking, okay, we know that it's going to get cooler. I would say October 1st, don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but you can get some cooler days in September, but oftentimes it doesn't mean you're done with the 90s. So the heat, but I can tell you with certainty that the hottest time of the year normally in the Charlotte area is late July and early August. So we're kind of in the thick of it, at least for now. So midweek, we have drier air mixing in. So we're tracking a cold front that's going to bring us some rain-cooled air tomorrow. And tomorrow could be the only day that we're actually hitting an actual air temperature potentially below 90 degrees, which would break a 15-day streak. Much more on that coming up here throughout the show. So before the frontal boundary gets here, we have had some pop-up storms, definitely not severe. I would say this storm itself I would classify as strong, but we're seeing some gusty winds along with it. You can also see some lightning strikes. Now, we talked about this over the weekend, but I want folks to remember one important thing here. When you see lightning, and you're tracking it here with WCNC Charlotte, notice 16 lightning strikes in the last few minutes, but there's little teeny tiny silver lightning bolts, and then you get these little plus signs. The plus signs indicate positive lightning strikes, which only about 10% of lightning strikes are positive, but they're 10 times stronger and last 10 times longer. So you're actually more likely to be struck when you see those little plus signs. So whether you're watching us here on WCNC Plus or you're watching the radar stream during the summertime, make sure you're looking out for that little change. Also, something else I'll point out to you, this tiny little storm that just developed in Unionville, it's falling apart quickly, but it actually is producing its own outflow boundary. So we will watch for additional storm development in southern parts there of Union County. I'm going to move this here to be a little bit more active since I did draw it about a minute or so ago. But here's latest storm arrival time with this particular cell moving through Anson County. You can see Marshville about 6:45 to 7 o'clock, Polkton right around 7, Wadesboro between about 7 and 7:15, and then Ellerby, Lylesville closer to about 7:15. So we'll of course keep an eye too on our camera to see if that one can hold together and if we can get any kind of viewing action of it. Another storm just now developing over Hickory, Ickard. You can see it's just north of the I-40 corridor. Again, not a ton of lightning, but certainly seeing some heavy pockets of rain with this one. And as we zoom out, here's some outflow boundary perfection. You can see this, oh, I'm drawing on the wrong thing. Ba-ba-da-da. Here we go. You can see this amazing line, again, pushing through Cleveland County, southern Gaston County. There's one weak boundary, if you look right here, that does look like it's trying to collide with that one over Gaston County, but this one is so weak that I don't think they're going to see a true collision. And then there's that baby one I just showed you a second ago near Union County. But where things are getting crazy is down here near Newbury, Greenwood. Notice there are there's an outflow boundary party here.
Two,
so we
three,
have
four.
2 weak boundaries here that are falling apart. We have this one just south of Greenwood. You got this one right here. You had one here. You had one here. You have one here. And it looks like you have a weak one right here. So there's probably like 8 or 9 just within those. Now remember, when you see outflow boundaries collide, similar to what you would see during the summertime in Florida, where you can oftentimes see the big collisions, and then the air rises, and that can create stronger storms or more storms. Not expecting that in the Charlotte area, just because our boundaries are relatively weak, but that is still certainly a possibility with those storms. And if you look at actually where all the boundaries are colliding here between Greenwood and Newberry, you'll eventually see some of those storms popping up. And that, again, is because of not just the boundaries themselves starting to push outward, but essentially you're getting all of those colliding upper air masses. And so it's a very, very quick and easy way for you can get storms to develop. So let's move on from there, because not everybody wants to talk about outflow boundaries. James, yes, I know that you are one of those people who does, but not everybody, my friend. Futurecast the rest of today. We'll see a few storms. Again, very similar to what we had over the weekend. Things are relatively few and far between. We'll see isolated storms, again, lingering through the overnight hours. And then tomorrow is where we really start to see it change. I think we'll see pretty dense cloud cover to kick off the morning. Areas of light rain, patchy fog. So some of those clouds will be low hanging. If we get some of those earlier showers, that will actually help stabilize the atmosphere and would allow for maybe lesser storms in the afternoon. If the stabilization lasts a little bit longer, but not forever, clouds will start to break and you'll get temperatures reaching the 90s. So it's a very delicate balance tomorrow between will we or will we not reach 90 degrees, because the official forecasts run 89 right now. If the clouds last longer, less sunshine, better chance that we won't. Of course, if it's the opposite, if the rain only passes through pretty quickly and then we don't see rain at the airport again. There was actually a day a few weeks ago where we thought that we weren't going to hit 90, but we did, because it rained at like 10 o'clock, but then things cooled down briefly, sun came out, and then we had plenty of time to see those temperatures warm back up. So again, not hitting 90 tomorrow is going to be a very delicate balance of will we or won't we. It's like your favorite couple on a TV show. Will they or won't they? You know what I mean? Futurecast for the rest of the afternoon tomorrow shows very, very few storms after 5 o'clock, and then things will start to clear out as the cold front that's moving through will shift south of us. It's going to stall, bringing a ton of rain to coastal parts of the Carolinas, probably coastal parts of Georgia, and then really, really significant rainfall over the next 7 days across portions of Florida. My parents live just north of Orlando. I've already told them to prepare for potentially 4 to 5 inches of rain over the next week. But locally, our impact is going to be slightly cooler and drier air. I say slightly because we have to remember that drier and cooler is relative this time of year, but temperatures on Tuesday will actually drop into the upper 80s to near 90, we know. It will still be sticky tomorrow, but because of clouds, again, temperatures will be cooler. Drier Wednesday, Thursday, with the actual air temperature pretty close to those numbers on the thermometer, and then humidity slowly creeps back in Friday. I think Friday will be the first day that our heat index is back near 100 degrees, if not hotter, and then, unfortunately, Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be watching for a weather alert criteria again in the Charlotte area. So next weekend, probably pretty similar to what we had this weekend. Well, we're done talking about ourselves. I don't know if I'm ever done talking about myself, but I try to do it in a relatable way. We got to bring in the one, the only Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley from WFMY. What is up?
Are you here? Are you staying dry down in Charlotte?
We don't have anything. I know you're not staying dry.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Hey, we got our daily thunderstorm. It's been a dark comedy, like a dark joke, I guess. Every day it's like, when's the thunderstorm going to come? When's the flooding going to come? But today, it was, for us, just a regular thunderstorm. So we're thankful, no damage, no flooding, and they seem to be winding down. We're going to send them to you, I think.
I was going to say, it's like that delicate balance of you guys have had so much storms, or so many storms, we've had nothing. So, like, I'll take your regular thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Come on. Bring it on down.
We need more balance. We too much, too little. We need to kind of balance things out. And that's the way it's been. That's the way summer can be sometimes. The floods and the droughts. We've had the floods.
How was y'all's heat this weekend?
So we were only right around 90 degrees. So we didn't actually pop up quite like you did. We were more in that 91, 92 range, mostly because of those daily thunderstorms popping up. So we haven't been quite as extreme with the heat. That's kind of the way we do it up here usually. But the humidity has been nuts. We've been mid-70s every night for like the last 15 days. So that's pretty bad for us. We usually get the cool downs, and it hasn't really happened all month for the most part.
Yeah, we had a low, I think of the lowest has been 74 and the highest has been 77. So it certainly has not been pleasant.
Oh, it's not good. And just unrelenting. I think if you get a break every now and then, that's nice. That's why I'm really looking forward to the middle and end of this week, that at least we can just dial it back a little bit. Then you can recharge maybe going into the weekend, which looks tough for heat again. But when it's been so steady, that's kind of demoralizing a little bit. I actually drove up to the mountains yesterday just because I was sick of it. And it was about 78 degrees up at, Blowing Rock area. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I actually saw on Instagram that you were up there, and I was a little bit jealous since I was in the weather center. But I did see your mini weather IQ about why it's cooler at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. It's always interesting because I remember even being in weather school, it's like, I don't really get why the mountains are closer to the sun, right? They're taller than we are. Shouldn't it be a little bit hotter there? But it all has to boil down to the air is less dense. There's not as much pressure, so you're not squishing the air quite as much as we are down here. So they actually have fewer air particles. And the only reason that the air has heat in the first place is because you're heating up those particles. And when you're not heating up as many particles, you're not going to have as much heat. And so it's all a pressure game and a density game. And that thinner air is just harder to heat up, I guess. Oh, and now we have a lovely look of, this is Blowing Rock, I guess, downtown?
It is. Aren't you wishing you were back now?
Yeah, I kind of wish I was there.
Yes.
Although the best time to be there,
I'm thinking of the ice cream cone.
I was going to say, I feel like the best time to be there, Tim, is like when they start decorating for Christmas.
I think so too. Sometimes in the wintertime, I'll just look at this camera kind of longingly because we don't always have the Christmas vibes quite in North Carolina, but the mountains really have it figured out. They've got the trees, they've got the snowflakes. It's very Christmassy up there. So
the flowers
right now,
are so
nice
gorgeous. Too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we'll also point out about the whole mountain question that it's not just the fact that the air is thinner, as you mentioned. It's also the fact that the minuscule difference between how much closer they are to the sun versus where we are is not enough to create a significant divide in the two areas.
Yes, it's a reminder of how insignificant we all are. When you look at the distances between planets and objects, right? The Earth and the Sun, the distance, something like this. Even Grandfather Mountain on that scale is just itty-bitty-bitty. It doesn't make much of it's a rounding error, I guess. So
yeah. It's like when they say the world doesn't revolve around you. You're like, it really does not. It really does not.
It doesn't. It seems like it sometimes when we have thunderstorms every day, but not the case.
Okay, what do you want to talk about first? Should we talk about some of the cool thunderstorm pictures that you were showing us from your awesome viewers from this past weekend, since we are tracking some storms?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we could do that. That'd be fine. So we have a bunch of pictures from viewers. These are around the Piedmont of North Carolina. There's so many of these, and for everyone watching at home, you might have some understanding about how these things work in the first place. Pretty much every one of these pictures are an example of a shelf cloud. And we've, for one reason or another, we have had so many shelf clouds with all of these different thunderstorms that have moved through the area over the last couple of weeks. We've been in that stormy pattern for about 2 weeks now. And these can be, to the untrained eye, they can be one of the scariest things that you'll see. It looks truly like the end of the world's coming your way. That's kind of the way that they appear because of how big they are. But in reality, it doesn't always mean that you're even going to have high winds. What you're really looking at here is just an example of we have very, very hot and humid air right now. It's been a hot summer. All of these storms are happening on hot days. But when you think about rain, The air temperature up in the clouds is much cooler than it is here. These are clouds that are 30, 40,000 feet tall. So the rain is actually fairly cool. And when it comes into the air, it's cooling everything down. So you get a big push of that cooler air moving into our area. And that's kind of like a mini cold front almost. The way a shelf cloud works is that cooler air kind of rushes out and it makes that air that's cool run away from the storm. We call it a gust front. We can call it an outflow boundary. But there's condensation that happens along with that. And that's what you're seeing is that push of cooler air creating its own cloud. And if we could pull up my graphic system here at 2, we're able to show you. We had another one of these this afternoon. Wasn't quite as dramatic as we saw over the weekend, but take a look. This is going to kind of go pretty slowly at first, but you're looking on the left-hand side of the screen. You see that? This is kind of the start of one of those outflow boundaries. And so what you're getting here, this is that push of cooler air, just like that. And then the warmer air is rising above it, just like that. So that's kind of the mechanism. And then as it goes along, you can see it gets a little bit more impressive. We can run it back once more. So there's the cool air coming out. There you have the rain kind of following behind, but it's not immediately behind. It's lagging by at least a mile or maybe 2. And then there's your downpour. And in this case, that cloud was really scary looking. There was a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust, and nobody lost power, and everyone went about their day. So I always think it's interesting that it's not always something that means a bad storm is on the way. It can just mean that storm's going to cool you off.
Yeah, and also we will remind people too that these storms have always happened. I feel like in the age of social media, we get like a lot of crazy, pictures of clouds, whether it's a shelf cloud, you get scud clouds, SLCs, aka scary looking clouds that we like to call it in the meteorologist world, or the meteorology world, but it's nothing abnormal. I promise you, if you guys are seeing something abnormal and you're sending it in, we are definitely talking about it. So we're not, just like ignoring the question.
They've definitely always happened, and I'm not sure why people think that they're new. That it could be just that social media is a bad place for info. That's probably a big part of it. But also keep in mind, everybody, we all have one of these, and everybody takes a picture now. Even when they're driving, they're taking these pictures. So everyone's taking the pictures, sending them in. It's very rare that we have a big storm now that we don't get a lot of pictures of. So we're posting them more. You're consuming more weather content. It does better online. So in a way, it's weather education, but we want to make sure people realize this is a natural way of things. They had these, I'm sure, at the turn of forever, 1900, 1800, whatever. I'm sure they were there too, but no one took a picture of it.
So we're getting some viewer questions. This is specifically for Charlotte, but I guess you might have similar heat, Tim. But so we right now are on a streak of 15 days in a row of temps at or above 90. We had a 17-day streak earlier this year, and we actually only broke it by one day. It was the day Chantal made landfall. So we had the air temperature only reach 86 that day because of more clouds. It was a little breezier. So of course those streaks are separate. So 17 and 15 days separately. The longest streak is 33 days. That was the summer of 1993. Now, my friends and family like to joke that's because I was born in 1993 and that's why I was the hottest, but I'll just let them continue to think that because I don't think that's the case. But that was the longest streak. We also had a graphic we showed earlier, and actually Chris made it, talking about how 1993 was also the hottest summer ever, which of course is no surprise because I just said that there was 33 days in a row of 90 plus. The question was, how many days would we need to see 90s to be the hottest year? It wouldn't necessarily be multiple days to see 90s. It would be how hot those days were, because as Tim knows, it's the average of the two. So for example, today our low was 76 and our high was 99. So our average was around 88. So the highs and lows are averaged together. So even if we had every single day the next, how many days we have left? 10 days left in the month. If it just was at 90, there's a chance that obviously we wouldn't average together to be beat at. But if we had like 10 days in a row of 99, we're going to average much hotter. So hopefully that answers the question that was asked by our viewer. Tim, because of rain, you guys probably are not in a crazy 90-plus streak, is my guess.
We're not, and I was just looking here. I guess it's been 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at 7. So we've had a couple days that have only, been in the 80s. We've only had 21 90-degree days this year, so quite a bit fewer than you. Just that little ride up 85 makes a bit of a difference for some reason. But I was going to ask the question. Now I'm seeing the graphic. I was wondering how hot you are for the month historically. It looks like it's the third warmest in Charlotte history so far, not over yet. We're only at our ninth warmest up here in Greensboro.
Yeah, it does not include today because the today data has not come in yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, third warmest, but today we hit 99 at the airport. So again, those 99 days, that's going to bump us up pretty substantially.
Wait, you got to 99 today?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
That's crazy.
But we've hit 98 like 7 or 9 times or something. Plus we hit 100 a few weeks ago. So it's like 99's like, nah, whatever.
Tim, we'll trade you a little heat for a little rain.
That's what I'm saying, Tim. Let's trade.
Well, we can, meet me out in the alley. We'll work out a deal here or something.
Yeah. Or like maybe can we
I'm
like
looking,
meet
you're
halfway?
at the third. We'll meet in Salisbury and exchange, perhaps.
Literally.
Third warmest summer for Charlotte on record so far, it looks like. Here in Greensboro, we're fifth warmest. So that's pretty impressive. So far, it's been a hot summer, any way you slice it.
Yeah, it's not a number or a thing that I would like to win though. I'd like it to feel a little bit more like fall, but alas, I live in
Yeah, and we had
Charlotte.
talked about this last week about. We talked about the dew points last week as being bad too. For us, we've had kind of one of our more humid summers as well. So, like Brittany was explaining, you average the days and the nights. The nighttime lows, they matter just as much as the days. So that's kind of going to weight that number pretty high if you're not cooling off every night.
Yeah, and I think going on the fact that we are once again talking about heat heading into maybe not the next few days, but heading into the weekend. We do have another story. I feel like we have really, really done so many stories the last few days talking about the heat, but we do have one story that one of our reporters, Miles Harris, did today that was really, really great because, Tim, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we talked a little bit about how heat at night can mess with your cardiovascular system, right, if you don't cool off completely. So Miles actually talked with a cardiologist specifically to talk about those weather heat-related impacts. So we're going to take a listen, and then we'll be back to talk more heat and humidity.
From construction workers to moving crews, Charlotte's outdoor workforce faces heightened risks during the summer heat, which is why health experts stress safety protocols are critical.
The heat is really just our biggest issue.
For people who work outside, adjusting to the heat is a must in efforts to stay safe.
With the heat, generally our natural body's response is to dilate your arteries. You're going to want to sweat. You're losing a lot of volume. So it's important to stay on top of that.
That's why some businesses like Morris-Jenkins are making sure their staff is staying safe.
The breaks are the most important part. Go sit in your van, cool down, then come back and finish the work. I'd rather take a little bit longer on the job to get it done right than risk the health of the technician.
But it's not just workers. Medic says they responded to 15 heat-related calls here in Charlotte over the weekend.
You want to be careful in the heat.
Dr. Rohit Bandari with Piedmont Medical Center urges hydration before and during any outdoor activity.
When you are sweating, you're losing that potassium, you're losing the sodium.
To protect you and your family from heat-related illnesses, Mecklenburg County Public Health recommends limiting physical activity outside, drinking plenty of water, and wearing lightweight, light-colored, loose-fitting clothes. In Southeast Charlotte, I'm Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
We're back. So we had another weather question. Oh, you already know yours. Tim, you talk first. Why am I on here? You know your temperatures right now. The question was,
Viewer questions.
Ever been a time where it got really cold? This time.
And I think cold is a relative term, right? But for the month of July, if you're talking about, hey, did I ever have to put on a sweatshirt or bundle up or something for the month of July? The answer would be not often, but on occasion. So I'm Googled a little bit and figured out our numbers back in our weather records. Up here in the Piedmont, the coldest temperature we've ever had in July was 48 degrees in 1933. If it's 48 degrees in July, you're going to need more than a sweatshirt because that's going to feel really cold to you. Brittany, I have Charlotte up here right now. It looks like you guys have been in the 50s a couple times. 1961?
Yeah,
53?
1961.
Is that cold? I
but
think it's cold.
I think that's chilly for Charlotte, but I will bring you back to 1892, just so 15 years after we started record keeping, and the lowest high temperature was 63. And I'm just trying to think of myself right now as we hit 99, thinking of how I would feel if I knew that the high tomorrow was going to be 63. I'm shocked.
Could you imagine?
I wonder if could there have been a tropical system nearby? I mean, holy guacamole.
You're both sitting there with your arms crossed right now. Do you guys realize that?
I'm just trying to think because to only have a high of 63, you would need some kind of really strong cold front, a tropical system or something where maybe like the low was 60 or something. We just didn't move much because of, maybe persistent rain. But I'm thinking of the days, even in the last 4 years or growing up, where it rained all day. And I feel like the lowest would be like 72, if it was low 70s and it stayed that way all day. So I'm trying to think of how I would feel right now if it was 63 outside. So the answer is fantastic.
I think you'd have to have one of those wedges, right? Like we talk about with an Appalachian wedge or a cold air damming situation where you've got, for some reason, some storm off the coast maybe, and you've got also a big high up to the north, and you're getting that northerly wind, and you just get socked in with the clouds and the rainfall. But you're right, there's no way you would stay that cold if you had any sunshine. So that's a pretty impressive weather record and a really good viewer question. I love that one.
It was a good viewer question. Well, Tim, how many more storms are you expecting that you guys are going to get for the rest of today?
Well, at this point, our radar has quieted down for the most part. We had a little line come through earlier. We showed you the shelf cloud from Winston-Salem, of course. As you look on the radar there's a little bit of more storm kind of coming closer to Winston-Salem, which that should come closer to maybe your area later on. But overall, we're quieting down, and I don't even have storms in our forecast for tomorrow up here. Charlotte, a bit of a different story, but most of the rest of the week should be quieter.
Yeah, I think we'll get a lot of early rain. It looks like late morning, early afternoon, and then it should stabilize us with not a lot of storms for the rest of the day. Well, Tim, enjoy your dry stretch, my friend. I'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow.
All right, we'll talk about something different without the storms.
Fingers crossed.